Hey there, it is I, Kevin, and I'm here to talk to you about one of my characters. This is the first one of these that I've done, and I hope it's gonna gonna work out because I don't know if it will because I'm not very good at describing things, but I'm gonna do my best. So here we go. We're going to talk about Candace, Anastasia, Noelle, Delilah, Lucille, Elisabeth Styx, my Chandelure, who is currently, at least as of the start of the story, 16. I guess I'll read some of the basic information off. Her abilities: Flash Fire, uh, Lonely Nature, characteristics: loves to eat. She has Calm Mind, Fire Blast, Energy Ball, and Shadow Ball. 5'3" because she's not very tall. Born June 9th. Uh, we have blood types listed there. It's O, by the way, but I don't know if they're really important. Um, so basically, I was thinking, no, okay. Gotta stay focused, gotta stay on topic here. Um, yeah, where to begin with this one? See, because the difficult thing is that I know all these characters and I know exactly the way that they act, but it's hard for me to put it into words exactly. So I'm gonna try my best. Okay, so to start off, um, she has a tendency to act like she's a very important. She has a tendency to like call on like, oh well, my father owns uh these various arenas or across the various regions, etc., etc. I'm important. Uh, that's why you should listen to me. But in reality, she's not really that way because she doesn't really think that. And in fact, the only reason she would do that is because she's, kind of desperately trying to make people take her more serious than they might just from what they would do themselves. Big reason for that is that she's very self conscious. Doesn't have a lot of self esteem. There's a lot of reasons for that, but I guess we don't have to go into all of those right now. But in reality, she's like her nature would suggest, kind of lonely. Um, so she does a lot of things for people to like her, and if not, then at least for people to like respect her on a basic level, which usually doesn't really work. But I mean, nah, what have you. Um, she currently lives in Driftville City, in Unova, next door to Cecilia, who is coincidentally, I mean that's a big coincidence. No, who is her best friend? Another one of her best friends is Bees or Burgundy. As she's known by everyone else in verse because nobody actually calls her that. They're all really good friends. Uh, the three of them used to hang out a lot when they were kids, but now that time has moved on, she seems to, or not she seems to, but no, literally, they don't hang out anymore, and I guess I'll go into that later. But basically, Bees is not allowed to hang out with Cecilia for reasons that we'll go over later. But they're not allowed to hang out anymore. So she has to spend time with them individually rather than together, which is kind of annoying. But she deals with it because, I mean, what else are you going to do? Other than that, I have some notes here about characters that I want to touch upon. There's also Joandra, who is obviously her family's maid, but she's also like they're friends, but she's also kind of like a sister to her, or kind of like maybe not quite. Maybe not quite mom, but like she's getting there. She does take care of her a lot. So like beyond just like, oh, you work for my family, they do have a lot more of a bond than that. Uh, which I don't think we express enough, but they are really good friends also. And then the other character that we're gonna touch upon here is Melanie, who she does not get along with. In fact, she probably thinks that she's the worst person in the world that she's not at all related to. And the reason for that is that basically she was an exchange student in the last year leading up to this year, where she came to her school, the one that she and Cecilia go to. Burgundy's homeschooled, so that's why she doesn't go there. But yeah, she came to that school and basically, like a heat-seeking missile, like started picking on them specifically. So they've got quite the history together, but I suppose I'll touch more on that later. But yeah, she hates her absolutely. Not a single part of her likes her, and she is just about the worst person in the world. Let me read over if we have any other big things that we talk about. Let's see, anything design wise. Because her hair is like the flame on Chandelure, as you can see in the background there. I figured I would have the Pokemon like in the background so you could kind of compare and contrast, or at least like have a reference. I mean, I'm sure you know what they look like, but nah, I don't know what to do it anyways. But yeah, basically, when she gets really happy, her hair kind of glows because it's like the fire, so it just kind of does that. It comes up on occasion. She doesn't get that happy a lot, but it does. Speaking of things that would make her happy, I guess there's one character I didn't mention yet, which is a surprise because I'm sure she would have mentioned him by now, is Damon, who she, ever since, I would say meeting him, but ever since seeing him on the boat during over the summer, she has quite the thing for him now, and won't really stop at anything to make sure they get together. It's a thing people tend to criticize her for, because, you know, she's already a rich girl, she already gets everything she wants, but that's not entirely the case. So she doesn't really like that, but because she tries to keep up the, oh well, I'm important, like, that's kind of the thing, is that on one hand she tries to keep up like, oh, I'm from a rich and important family, but on the other hand she's like, but I don't really get any of the benefits, so please don't judge me too harshly for it. So it's she has to kind of balance those two. She usually quickly lets people in on the fact that that's not the way things are, but at least once she's close to them, because obviously, like, they'll find out sooner or later. But at least for people who she's only like, she does who don't like her, like, if you, like, she would never have that conversation with you if you don't like her, or if you're just somebody who she just occasionally sees. She'd rather keep up the I'm rich and important aspect of her, for better or for worse. Anyways, because of her thing with Damon, that kind of inspired her to start doing battling. Mostly just as a thing to, mostly that's just a way to impress them. but she finds out that she's actually pretty good at it. So good, in fact, that she managed to dethrone the previous junior division champion, who definitely isn't a character in this. Maybe he is. Ig something. I don't know. I think he's a character. I don't know. Either way, she doesn't think that's very important because, I mean, the only thing that matters is that she did it, not who she beat. So there's that. I think that just about sums everything up that I had here. So it's a good 10 minutes that I talked about this. I think that means we get to move on to her father. Sorry. I'm I really try to not do that too much, but on occasion I just can't help myself, because that's how I talk normally. Like 90% of the time is just weird, stupid. I mean, I'm sure you know that. You've met me. Anyways, moving on to as I said, her father, Bradford Styx, who is as Caddy would put it, a real piece of work. He's 40. He obviously also lives in Driftville currently. As for his origins, he's it's a little more complicated than that. Basically, he and his family kind of have a thing where they like to marry into rich families, so their background and ethnicity is kind of like a mash of a bunch of them. I believe they last lived in excuse me. They last lived in Sinnoh? Yeah, they lived in Sinnoh before he moved out to Unova. And I believe his mother was from Galar. So they're like part British, part Japanese, part American now. It's a mess. So he is the evolved form of Yamask. I'm not. That is an accurate statement. His nature is naughty. Then he's highly persistent, which yeah, I'm sure he is. Because let's not beat him at the bush here. As Caddy put here in the description, he's a highly immoral, complete pervert, which I think is a better descriptor than I could muster in like the next 7 minutes, and I'm still going to talk about this guy. Yeah. He likes to sleep around, in or out of other marriages. It doesn't matter. His own or other people's. He's just kind of overall an asshole. He's kind of a greedy bastard. Not so greedy that he can't... Greed is not his main thing, though. At least money greed. Greed when it comes to having all the ladies is probably one of them, but money greed, not so much. He does have a lot of it, but he's not... despite his shaky relationship with his daughter, he's not... It's not like he's like, oh, well, you can't have any of my money because... Meh. But no, like, he does... She's not... He doesn't ignore her in that sense. He ignores her in a lot of other senses because he's kind of a bad father. I guess we'll go into that one because basically, him and his wife had a really bad divorce. I'm gonna talk about his wife in a little bit, but she's nothing compared to him. I could honestly like sidetrack here and then and go back to him. But honestly, let's stick with Bradford for now. Basically, um, he was not keeping his pants on around other women while they were married, and ended up turning it around and blaming it on her. And he managed to basically in the whole divorce proceedings, he managed to get the kid out of it. Um, Mostly because it's not very hard to manipulate like a 4-year old into coming to your side if you have the money and toys and McDonald's to spare, I suppose. I mean, what else do you need to convince a little kid? Candy, I guess. Which I didn't mention yet. I forgot to mention. Candace has a sweet tooth, so she definitely would be bought over by any sort of candy. So I mean, yeah. Uh, he ended up getting the kid in the divorce, which his wife, I'm sure, was happy about. But the only reason he really did it is so he could have basically like a pity story, because he's like, oh, look at me, I'm a successful businessman while also a struggling single father who has to raise a kid by himself. It's for pity points. He basically just not so much like a trophy as like a thing to score him to garner pity. So I mean, that's a good reason to be a parent, obviously, but yeah. So like I said, he's not like money greeting, and that despite that he's still like, fucking go buy yourself something, I guess. I don't know. Here's some money, now shut up and go away. More than like, oh, I care so much about you. Here's your allowance. Like, no, it's not like that. But again, he's not super greedy in that regard. Um, but yeah, he doesn't really care much for his daughter, nor anyone else really. Even most of the women he would be with, he doesn't really care about. Just another notch in the belt, I guess, suppose. Because yeah, he doesn't care about mostly anything, and he's not really ashamed of that. He kind of he plays nice until a certain point, and then he just it's kind of like, yep, I'm just a piece of shit. I'll admit it. That's fine. And most people are aware of this. Some people are not. But yeah, he kind of puts up a big facade of being nice and charming and charismatic, but he really isn't. Although he can be, and that's the dangerous part, is that sometimes it's hard to tell where where him being fake stops and him being genuine begins. I meant to say ends on the other one, but whatever. You know what I mean. He's only ever genuine with very few people, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Um, Basically, the there's about 3 people, well, mainly 2, but there's kind of a third that he cares about. Let's go over the third first, which is uh, Miyu Saito, the headmaster of Booster, who he mostly associates with for like business purposes, but he still wouldn't mind them taking their relationship other places. And if you get what I'm saying, but no, she's not. She's not even remotely interested in him for the obvious reasons. Anybody who sees through him would not be interested in this man, because he's, like I said, a piece of shit. And she obviously does. So, she has to associate with him, though, because, I mean, if she has to do business with him, she has to, but she would rather, jump off a cliff at the first opportunity if it ever came up. So, yeah, they're not. They only associate because, or she only associates with him because she has to, and he Would like a lot more out of it than he probably will ever get. So there's that one. But the two people he does genuinely seem to care about. I say seem to care because again, you can't tell with this asshole. Um, the first one being his sister, Amanda, who I believe she kind of moves all over the place. She's not very. She doesn't really like. She's like I'm trying to find words. I think she, if she doesn't move a lot, she at least like travels around a lot, so she's not home that much. But I think she at least used to live in, or I think she does actually live in Owen. And now I wish Katie was here because like I feel like I'm better just rattling off to myself, or at least I wanted to try if that worked out better. So far, it's going good. So, but yeah, she lives in home right now. They get along great. Maybe a little too great on her end. Suppose Caddy will touch on that one later, but yeah, they get along well. They're I think she's the closest to a genuine friend that he has. Is his sister, which I mean should tell you enough. Um, I say a genuine friend because there is another friend. Uh, but yeah, that's her. Other than that, there's Cassandra, Alicia's mother, who they've known each other since they were very young, at least. He claims that his feelings for her are genuine, and his sister would back him up on that, if that means anything. Um, but yeah, it's very one sided on that one. But she does seem to be the other person that he does genuinely care about, which, I mean, I guess good for her. Now, speaking of people who he doesn't really genuinely care about, is his neighbor slash best friend in a million quotes, Cecilia's father, Cedric, who again he lives next door to, as I said, they were neighbors, which implied that. Okay, whatever. But uh, they spend a fair amount of time together. He spends a lot of time over at his place. Though not mostly because he's interested in him necessarily. Cedric's been through a lot of divorces. Uh, I want to say three, maybe there was a fourth, but I think he's on the fourth wife now. I think that's accurate. Again, that is for Cecilia's video. But the point is that all of those divorces were on him because every time that he's had a wife, he's stolen her. In fact, Cecilia's birth mother was the woman that he was with while he divorced his actual wife. So it's nice to know how that all ties together. Oops. But yeah, it's almost like a thing he likes. It's almost like a game he's playing. He's just every time that he has Cedric has a wife, Bradford will just come in and take her after a little while. I don't know why he does it, other than he can't ever put his thing enough places, I suppose. He's just kind of an asshole. He's just not kind of. He's just really an asshole. So, yeah, that's just kind of one of the things he does. What a good friend. Anyways, Cedric's current wife, Clover, I think basically has caught on to what his deal is and what has happened. Cedric doesn't know. And I don't think anybody has the heart to tell him because this has been going on for years. And he really thinks that they're best friends. So I don't think anybody's like actively spoken up about it, and they might have tried, but he's also kind of an idiot, so he might have not gotten the memo. But I think Clover's caught on, and is also not interested. And that's basically the relationship between those two, is that she's not interested and she hates him like she should. So there's that. I think that's mostly everything. Yeah. Oh, other people he doesn't get along with is uh Brontes, obviously, because he's constantly hitting on his wife, so I'm sure he doesn't appreciate that. But I think that's basically it for Bradford. I guess the one person who he also interacts with, or has interacted with in the past, is his wife, uh, Seraphina Styx, or as she's now probably back to being known, Lichtenberg, who is 2 years older than him, so 42 at the moment. Is a Chandelure like Candace. Looks a lot like her, too. She's naive, but strong-willed. Basically, what her story is that she started out as the daughter of a businessman. Her father owned the, if you've played Pokemon Black and White, there's that, like, the ice cube storage place, by, Driftville. Basically, I have it so that he owned that, and what happened is that, Bradford married into the family, and he, took over the business and then basically sold everything and then just built a stadium there, and that's how he got his start with his business. Basically destroying her family business, which I'm sure they weren't very happy with, but I think her father had passed away at the time that he did that, so I guess he didn't really have much of a say in it. But back to Seraphina here for a second. She basically started out wanting to become a singles battler in Unova, which means that she probably had some interaction with a number of the other characters like that. At least definitely Burgundy's father, who's also from the region, so I'm sure they've crossed paths at some point. I think she started with that after her mother passed away, but that's not really that relevant. So she's never really had it that easy, but she tries to stay positive, and uh, her thing with Bradford seemed genuine and very good and very nice until things started falling apart, which kind of did a number on her. She became very paranoid and started basically accusing anybody and everybody, including Cassandra, which means that their relationship probably wasn't that good either. I say wasn't because she's basically been out of the picture ever since the divorce. She basically lost everything and pretty much outright disappeared. Nobody has seen her because she doesn't have, and nobody has contacted her because she doesn't have any remaining family members that she didn't get, or didn't no, it, like, other than like in-laws, like she has no living family. Both of her parents are gone. She doesn't have any siblings. She doesn't have any. She might have like cousins somewhere, but I don't know. But the point is that like nobody knows where she is. She basically disappeared. So Candace hasn't seen her mother since she was 4, which also causes a couple issues, and she's kind of blames herself for that one. But I mean, that's for later. Uh, Other than that, at least while she was still there, she did try. She did do the best she could to be a good mother, and pretty much was. I think. I don't think she necessarily was a bad mother, but I mean, only being with your kid for the first 4 years doesn't really help. So that's a shame. But yeah, she's not been around since then, and that's basically her. There's not much else to say about her other than the fact that, like, it's just kind of the way it is. Words. I feel like I'm looking for a conclusion in this one, but I think that's the thing with her story is that it is inconclusive, because she is alive. Before you worry, she is definitely alive. She's just not around, which, is not the best thing. So the real family situation, obviously, is just Candace and her father. Mom is not in the picture at all. She never had, like, visitation or anything, so it's just those two, and those two only get along because they mutually kind of benefit from it. Bradford gets a pity card, and Candace gets a place to live. I guess that's basically it. But I think that about sums it up. I'm going to read over this thing one more time. Look at my notes, see if I forgot anybody. I've talked about all the characters that they're related to. Oh, I suppose I should mention the other Miyu, the one who teaches at Trinity, was originally sponsored by the Styx Corporation, which is Bradford's company, so they at least are aware of one another. I'll say that much. Other than that, I think I've basically summed everything up here. So, yeah, I guess I'm gonna wrap up here. So, that was Candace. That was her family. That was the first of these videos, which I finally got around to. Again, there was an attempt at this before, but I forgot too many things, and I wasn't happy with the results, so we had to scrap it. So, I guess that's that, and I guess I'll see you for the next one, which not sure if I'm tagging along with Caddy on Cecilia, who's probably the logical next step from here, or Damon, either one. So if I'm not in either of those, then I will see you for the video on Burgundy or Bees. So, see you for that. Bye.